I guess, first of all, I just want to thank a lot of you guys for praying for me and my family. I know a lot of you prayed for me and a lot, and sent us cards and money and text messages and emails, and I can't thank you enough and tell you how much that's really boosted someone's soul. The brotherhood and sisterhood of Christianity is really unsurpassed, and that really helped me get through a lot. So I really do appreciate that immensely. I think I'll just kind of walk through what happened and along the way, just share the journey. I never thought I would ever have cancer. My grandmother had colon cancer, so if I would have gotten cancer, I thought it would be in my colon. She died of that, so I was supposed to get routine checkups. And, you know, like any man, you don't think you need to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor, so I didn't go often. But back in, I guess last September, I started having problems when I ate. I would start hiccuping a lot, burping a lot, and it kind of got worse as time went on. Right, like October, November. It was getting really hard to eat. I had to chew a lot, and it was hard to swallow. By December, January, I was eating and throwing up. Lost about 15, 20 pounds probably by that point. And by February, I was pretty much blending all my food. So we went to see the doctor and scheduled a routine colonoscopy and endoscope procedure. They put a scope down your throat to check it out, and you know, we were all kind of like, yeah, I probably just need to have my throat stretched, no big deal. And I woke up from my procedure, and he's like, oh, your colon looks good. Took a couple biopsies of some polyps, no big deal, but there's a mass in your esophagus and it's cancerous. And I was like, what? Are you sure? I mean, I was just waking up from the anesthesia, you know, and then laying this on me. So from that moment on, we were kind of like, you know, our whole world just was turned upside down. So we came home. At this point, I was 220 when I started this journey. I was now 180 pounds. We came home and probably did the worst thing you could ever do, look up on the internet, stop with you with cancer. And whoa, that night was pretty rough. Basically, this is a really hard disease to recover from because you detect it so late because you never get endoscope unless you have a problem. So by that time, you know, it's too large to spread to other parts of the body, and you don't have long to live. So this actually has a 5 to 22% chance to make it to 5 years. So the way they rated cancer now is the 5-year mark. So if you make it to 5 years, you're a cancer survivor, whether you have it or not. If you die in the 5th year, 3 months in, you're a cancer survivor, just because cancer is such a bad disease and hard to get rid of. So basically, you know, reading all that kind of put a big damper on everything. And told our family, told the kids, and we were just in a whirlwind of what do we do now? And so many things, you know, started hitting us. So we just, you know, prayed a lot, and didn't even really know what to pray for, just for wisdom and guidance, because there's so many things out there that we don't even know. Like, you don't really research cancer every day, and what do I do now? You know, it's not like you buy a house and you go through these steps. So that was tough. We basically, at that point, we were through my head was stuff like, you know, is my life insurance policy up to date? You know, what are my kids going to do? Who's going to take care of them? You know, all that stuff's starting to just fly through your head. So a couple major things that happened that only really God could do. We, of course, told my family, and my dad had just had a procedure done at Penn about 3 months ago. Quick got on his patient portal, emailed his doctor. I got into Penn like in 20 minutes and had an appointment like the next day. Saw the top 3 doctors in the field, chief of surgery, for the esophageal cancer, the highest rated chemo doctor and radiation doctor. And we basically went down there and kind of came up with the plan. Their protocol is chemo, radiation, and surgery. And they were describing the surgery to us. At that point, surgery was, a couple of months down the road. We go through 28 sessions of radiation and 5 weeks of chemo, and then you're off for 2 weeks, and then you have the surgery. The surgery is pretty complicated. They're explaining it to me, and I'm just like, whoa, this is not very good. They have a 2% chance you don't even make it out of the hospital after surgery. They basically cut your esophagus here, cut it out of your throat, move your stomach up and attach it to your throat, and that's your new esophagus. So you have to learn how to re-eat, you have to have a feeding tube for a while. It's just, they're around your lungs, it's around your heart, it's just not an easy surgery. So at that point, I was like, I don't really want to have a surgery. Like, that was my main focus, was I don't want the surgery. I joined a Facebook group for esophageal cancer, and it was a help because it helped me to know what to prepare for, but it was also a big eye-opener of, this guy had the surgery, 3 months later the cancer's back. This guy has the surgery, and he's throwing up every morning for the next 20 days. What do I do? There's so many issues and things with the surgery that I was really convinced I didn't want. So I started praying really hard, Lord, don't let me have to get the surgery. Get it down low enough that I don't have the surgery. And it was at this point where people started finding out and had incredible email support, text support, getting texts, getting people saying, praying for you, who sure people from this church here. And the army of people praying was growing. And a couple people came to me and said, I'm not praying that you don't get the surgery, I'm praying the cancer goes away. And I was like, that's great. And I prayed that, but it wasn't like I didn't believe it. I know God can do anything, but I was so focused on the surgery that and the doctors were like, this is hard to beat, it's not going to go away, you gotta get the surgery. So I was more focused on not getting the surgery. So things started to happen with friends. God placed people along the journey that it's pretty unbelievable when you look back and you think about it. We go back to Penn. At this point, I'm probably down to like 160, 150. I still can't eat very well. So this guy that used to sell me furniture at the furniture store, he married this girl named Tina, who was into holistic medicine. She's had disease from childhood, and only way she could really beat it was, naturally. And they live in Florida. They flew up from Philly. We met with them, We met with them in Philly, talked for about an hour, and we were going over everything from sprouted grains to Rife machine to oxygenated water, starting to do a lot of research on cancer. And actually before that, let me back up a minute, good friends of mine from First had us over for dinner. It was a really good dinner, but I couldn't eat it, so I just had to have soup. But he brought over another couple. This guy named Scott had brain cancer. They took the brain cancer out right away, and then he got cancer in his lungs and his liver, and he's cancer-free now. So he started talking to me about, nutrition and what to do and diet, and that's when I first started really getting into other alternative things, and chemo, radiation, and surgery. So we started to do a lot of research, and we cut out acidic foods, cut out sugar. Cancer loves sugar and loves acid. So we started to change my diet almost immediately. And God really brought in those types of people. And even through documentaries, I couldn't do much, so I became a documentary junkie. And I watched probably 10 to 15 documentaries on nutrition and different ones from cancer. That's how I found the clinics in Germany, researched Germany and Mexico. And we bought a Rife machine where it basically, I hook up at night and it puts like electrical pulses through your body. I bought a oxygenated water purifier, puts oxygen in the water because cancer doesn't like oxygen. So I'm starting to you do a lot of weird things when you're facing death. So it's all good. It's not, I'm not glowing or anything. So by this time we're back at Penn. They put a stent in my esophagus. It's just a piece of aluminum or metal mesh that could open up my esophagus so I could actually eat, which was very helpful. I didn't have to keep blending my food. I was still losing weight pretty rapidly, unfortunately, and then I started the radiation and the chemo, and I got down to, my lowest weight was 138. So I'm 147 now, so I'm gaining some poundage. Trying to eat a lot and put it away, but it's hard because I'm eating better, so I'm not eating the crappy food anymore. But it's all good. So let's see here. We started the radiation, and one day in the at the radiation, I saw this guy that goes first who actually had cancer, just out of the blue. Another, cool God thing that he kind of just showed up. We didn't show up; he was there for a reason, but we kind of ran into each other. And then that same day, in the room where I get chemo, I saw a lady across the room, and I'm like, man, she looks so familiar. And she was with a lady at church that drove her there. And I asked her, I said, what's her name? And she told me her name. And here was a lady that we graduated with at Faith and had really, really tough cancer she was battling. And she's been through a lot more than I have. And we talked for a little bit. She actually brought us a meal. And I'm like, well, why are you cooking us a meal? You have cancer, don't. And she said, no, I want to do it. So she's been an incredible source of encouragement, texting me songs and verses, and so Scott we met right away, Tina, and then this other lady. Just God really put in people in the path. And then about this time, we're starting to get towards the end of treatment. Treatment was rough. It just really kind of wipes you out. There's nothing really good about it. Chemo takes away everything good or bad in your body. And at that point, the radiation was basically burning from the inside out. So everything was hard to swallow. Cold was hard, hot was hard to swallow. Anything really rough. So it was hard to eat. About 3 weeks in, they gave me pain medication, which helped. And then at that point, we're starting to get towards the end. The stent actually migrated out of my esophagus into my stomach, which to me was a good thing because that means the radiation and chemo was working. So I had to get that removed. They didn't want to remove it because my esophagus was so tender. At that point, we started, fear creeps in and all this other stuff creeps in. And right then our church was going through a series of fireflies, and again, it couldn't come at a better time. It's basically capturing your anxiety or worry and, giving it to God. Like you catch fireflies and put it in a bottle. And that was the theme. And all the messages were, cast your cares upon him. He cares for the birds of the air. Obviously he cares about you. And so many good things came from there. There was another lady that I found just doing some research named Paula Black. She had breast cancer in 1999 before even the internet. And she actually was cured through just drinking carrot juice and other things like that. So I called and talked to her for about an hour and a half, and a Christian lady, and she reminded me that God never uses fear to direct us. So that was really important at that point because it was starting to be like, okay, what do we do now? Do we go to Germany? Do we go to Mexico? Do we get the surgery? I really don't want the surgery. All these things started to play into our decision, and we just really needed wisdom. My parents were like, go to Germany. Doesn't matter how much it costs. Germany was $50,000 to get. They do 4 major things. 2 of them you can't get done in the United States because it's not approved by the FDA. So that was one of the reasons to go there. You know, so it was just, what do we do? We really were praying for wisdom and, you know, God to open and close doors. I just didn't know which direction would be best and didn't want to do anything wrong or make a wrong decision to be suffering later. So that was good that we were able to do that. Another guy in our church got cancer in the throat, same type of cancer, but it was up here in his throat. Mine's down here, right before your stomach. He was another great guy to talk to. He was about 6 weeks ahead of me and everything, so I could text him, call him up, and you know, he was a great help in what we were doing. Another God thing, the cancer I got was a squamous cell carcinoma. There's either a carcinoma cancer or an adenocarcinoma. Carcinoma cancer has a lot better success rate with chemo and radiation. Also, mine was down here, not up here, which is where normal carcinomas are. Even the doctor was like, I would have bet my paycheck that, you know, it would have been an adenocarcinoma. So another amazing thing that, you know, God's just keep on. You know, even though I got the disease and got cancer, there's still good coming out of it. Still, you know, learning, and that was the main thing. Why did I get it? You know, I asked doctors, why did I get it? They're like, well, do you smoke? I'm like, no, never smoked. Do you drink? No, never drank. Do you have acid reflux? No. So, you're like, I don't know. Maybe you have a lot of stress or whatever. So, no real reason. But, so at this point, chemo and radiation are done. I'm down to like 138 pounds, like I said, 140. Time to rebuild. They took the stent out, and he didn't really say anything at that point. So then, 2 weeks after that, we did a PET scan where they actually inject sugar in you to find the cancer, and the cancer lights up. And that result was pretty amazing because they said that there's nothing in my esophagus. And it's pretty much a miracle because, like I said, this doesn't just go away, you know. So Penn called me up and they're like, okay, it's time for your surgery. And I was like, well, we just had the PET scan. Why get the surgery? There's nothing there. It's like, oh no, it's still there. It's gonna come back in 3 months and you'll be dead if you don't get it. I mean, they're telling me this over the phone. I'm picking up my kids from day camp and they're like, you gotta come in right away, you know. I was like, so I told my wife, Bridget, I'm like, we're not even going. Like, this is ridiculous. My prayer was, you know, I don't want to have the surgery. And I felt like God answered my prayer because it's gone, why should I get the surgery? So I said, you know what, we need to go anyway just to make sure we're all on the same page. I didn't want the doctors like to just drop me, you know, and I'd just be on my own. You still need the doctors to a certain extent. So we went down to Penn, and the first doctor I met with was like, oh my word, this has been too long since your last treatment. We got to get you in. We got to get you scheduled. He explained the procedure to me. We're cutting this, cutting that. You're here for a while. You know, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, 2% of people don't make it out of the hospital. And she left, and I turned to Bridget. I'm like, we're going to Germany. I'm like, this is crazy, you know. And then the doctor came in, the surgeon, and you know, I said, look, I don't really feel comfortable with the surgery options. If it's not there, why do it, you know? And he's like, well, that's our protocol. I called, actually, before I went there, I called Fox Chase to try to get a second opinion, and they said, well, we follow the same protocol, you know, chemo radiation surgery. So, anyway, so he came in, and I said, he looked at the last endoscope procedure and looked at the last PET scan, and he's like, you know, he's like, I think we have 3 options. One is we don't do anything, we just wait it out. 2 is we can go back in there with the endoscope procedure, take a look at everything, and take some biopsies to be sure. Or 3, you have the surgery. And he says, if I was your brother, I wouldn't have the surgery. And me and Bridget were floored because, I mean, all along it was chemo radiation surgery, chemo radiation surgery. So that was a huge answer to prayer. And we did do the procedure. About 2 weeks later, they biopsied it, and he came out and he said, the tumor's gone. And I was totally floored. I thought it was still there. I still have problems swallowing. My esophagus is really tight. So I thought it was just still there, but when he said it wasn't there, your esophagus was just really constricted, I was like, wow, that's just unbelievable. And the biopsy report came back, no signs of cancer. So, and then I just had a PET scan on Thursday, and that report, the doctor hasn't read it yet, but the report looks the same as the last one. So, I'm saying I'm pretty much cancer free. So, which is truly a miracle. Like I said, because for this type of cancer, I have a 5 to 22% chance to make it to 5 years. So at this point, I'm, of course, super excited. And we're now trying to rebuild another God thing. My wife cleaned some houses, and the one day she went to clean, and the one lady forgot to leave her the key. So there's another lady in our church that's really been sick for a while. And she said, I'll just stop and, clean her house. So she stopped, and they were talking, and she told us about this nutritionist in Cooperburg, and that I'm seeing now, and she's a Christian, so she's helped me, rebuild my strength and my immune system. I'm seeing a naturopathic doctor in Phoenixville, met her through family. She's a Christian. So God's laying all these people in my path to help me conquer fear, anxiety. What do I do next? What's going to happen? Do I need to go to Germany? Do I need to go to Mexico? No, because now I'm seeing this lady and this other doctor, and doctors I think are pretty much blown away. They can't figure it out. They want to do the surgery, and I technically don't have to get it. So it is a miracle that I'm standing here. There's no doubt about it. It's just, there's really no other explanation, because this just doesn't go away. I mean, yeah, I've done a lot of things. I've researched a lot of things, but God has put all those things in my path so I can find them. And I'm eating differently. I'm juicing a lot, doing a lot of different things through nutrition. But there's also other people doing the same thing, and they still have a cancer. I talked to a lady on the phone from North Carolina. She had 4 tumors, and she went to Mexico, and she was doing some other cell replacement thing out of, I forget where, and she just passed away. Christian lady, so for some odd reason, I'm still here. So we're trying to figure that out. Why am I still here? We have learned a lot. I'll just close with this. Specifically, you can't go through this alone. And again, we've had a ton of people praying for us, which I thank you. I do have faith. My faith is not huge. Like I said before, I had people praying the cancer would go away. I wasn't even really praying more, but it went away. So I need to pray bigger. Why not? God can do anything. One of the sermon series was that you have faith of a mustard seed. That's what the Bible says. I don't need this great, huge, big faith. I just need to have a little bit, and He'll take care of it. Now, should we have bigger faith? Absolutely. But mustard seed is all we need, and He's good with it. There's another friend that sent me a book from John Piper. It says it's called "Don't Waste Your Cancer." It goes through 10 things, and that's my goal now. If you can. I'll just close with this, but if you can continue to pray, I still have a lot to go through. I'm still recovering a lot. My body's from the chemo and radiation still weird here and there. But I'm much better. I have a stronger chance that it comes back, so I have to keep doing things. and try to build my immune system so my immune system will kill the cancer. And I also want to know why I'm still here and give me wisdom on why I got cancer and what I'm supposed to do with it. There's a reason, God gave it to me, and there's a reason God healed me. So I need to find out what that reason is. So if you can just pray for wisdom in that area. I just want to read these 10 things because I think that it's not just cancer that people struggle with. They struggle with a lot of things. Other diseases, a bad job, or maybe it's a tough marriage, maybe they lost a loved one. So I think you can replace the word cancer with whatever you're going through. And I would look it up. It's short. I'm not a very good reader. My mind wanders too much. So this is a really, really short. You can look it right up on the website. Just Google don't waste your cancer. And replace the word cancer with whatever you're dealing with. Number one is you will waste your cancer if you do not believe God designed it for you. Number two is you will waste your cancer or whatever you're dealing with if you believe it is a curse and not a gift. You will waste your cancer if you seek comfort from your cause rather than from God. You will waste your cancer if you refuse to think about death. You will waste your cancer if you think that beating cancer means staying alive rather than cherishing Christ. You will waste your cancer if you spend too much time reading about cancer and not enough time reading about God. You will waste your cancer if you will drag you into solitude instead of deepen your relationship with manifest affection. You will waste your cancer if you grieve as those who have no hope. You will waste your cancer if you treat sin as casually as before. You will waste your cancer if you fail to use it as a means to witness the truth and the glory of Christ. So, another thing that I started doing was journaling. So, I would highly recommend that. It's really nice to go back to see what I was going through. It's not weird just because you're a guy, you're allowed to journal. You don't have to have a little pretty journal by your side. You can do it on the computer. Don't worry. Go with a little lockbox for your kids, your sister.
You read my journal.
Not like that. You can just do it on the computer. I just have one on the laptop, but I try to remember to write on. But it's neat to go back and see because you forget. You can't remember everything. So that's my story. I appreciate it. Like I said, the body of Christ is amazing, and I can't imagine anybody going through this who really isn't a believer. Like, where do they turn? Where do they grasp onto? I guess they just put all their trust in the doctors and hope it gets better, But the doctors don't have all the answers. Everybody's different, You can have 100 people with the same cancer and their body reacts differently. So, but thank you. I don't know if we do questions or not or whatever. If anybody has any questions or anything?
So John, how are all the bills taken care of? Did you have insurance to go through this with?
I do have insurance. The insurance will not cover any of the holistic stuff I'm doing. So the naturopathic doctor is not covered. The nutritionist isn't covered. Everything at Penn is a tier 3 for my insurance. So I have to pay my deductible first. So my first stint placement is about $5,000. And then every copay is anywhere from, every time I go see a doctor or have a test, it's anywhere from $120 to $250. So in the beginning, that was a lot because I was there a lot. It slowed down a little bit, but I'll probably have to have a PET scan every 3 months for the first year, I guess, which I don't really want to do. There's a lot of radiation. PET scans are 1,000 times more radiation than an X-ray, and radiation really helps cancer survive. So I'm going to look into other ways to find out. You can do some blood tests. There's markers in blood tests that you can do. But it's good to know, you want to know if it's still there. You can't see the inside of your body. I mean, I can tell how I feel, but the big thing too is I forgot to mention this, cancer's in 4 stages. I was stage 3. 4 is it's basically all over your body, so I was 1 away. So that was the big concern, that it was in my liver or in my lungs or other places. So it was stage 3. I mean, very close, but at least it was here, not everywhere else. So, yes.
You mentioned the why of the cancer, you know, why did I get it? Why did I survive it? You know, those different things. What is the impact on your faith with that and struggling with the why question? We all go through why questions about why did this happen to me or why am I going through these struggles? What is the impact on that? How did you struggle with this through that why question?
That's a good question. I think my faith is a lot bigger. I think my trust is even bigger. I think I've kind of been a guy that's, not that I don't worry, but it was kind of like, okay, this is, you know, happening, it'll be okay, you know, it'll take care of itself or whatever. This was a little different, obviously, but I think I'm still learning that part of it. I'm in my Bible more, trying to prioritize my life more. Cancer is a big, stress is a big cancer inducer. So I was always doing stuff, running around, you know, things like that. I think, you know, unfortunately we have to only have faith as a mustard seed, but I think God wants us to have bigger faith. So, like I said, I'm still learning and figuring that out. But there was times when we were constantly like, okay, PET scan's coming up. What about this? What about this? What about this? And at some point, you just had to like let go and be like, okay, because it was almost like so much anxiety of what's going to happen and what if, but we weren't even at that point yet.
Yeah.
So instead of worrying about all these things and creating more stress, I think the biggest thing is you just have to believe. You have to believe that you're getting better. You have to believe that God is going to heal you. He doesn't want us to be sick. He created our immune system to make us fight bad stuff, you know? He doesn't want us to get cancer or get disease. Why do we get it? I don't know. Stuff that we're eating, stuff that happens, stuff we neglect, you know? What you go through trials, I think, to make you stronger and bring you closer to God. I think trust and belief is really big.
The kids like oxygenated water now.
Oh, yeah, it does taste different. It tastes good. Yeah. You know, when we go out to dinner now or something like that at a restaurant, everyone's like, "Ooh, man, that's water, man." That's right. I'm telling them. Yeah, we go out to dinner. You know, it's a whole different experience. The waitresses are like, I'm drilling them on everything. I need grass-fed this. I need, you know, organic this, and everything I eat now is organic. And my food bills are expensive, but you got to do it. Organic and free-range chickens, and nothing out of a package, basically. Nothing processed. Juice a lot. Juicing very good. You juice vegetables, the minerals go into your bloodstream in 20 seconds. You don't have to digest it. So try to drink a lot of juice. Not like juice, like apple juice from the store, but, you know, stuff you buy. Carrots. Carrot juice is very good. Right, Bill has carrot juice. I'll give you some carrot juice. That's right. But yeah, so.
Hard to get fat on carrot juice. Though.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.